guys, welcome back to My Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Welcome back to another interview, and today I'm so pleased to have Carla Caswell with me. I'm here in the evening in New Zealand, but I'm beaming you up to Kent in the UK. Right now it is just a beautiful sunny morning there, and yes, I'm missing the summer. But having said that, we're talking about the UK. We're probably talking about 3 hours, round about mid-August, that you have sunshine there. So make the most out of it, Carla. But first of all, thank you so much for coming onto my show.
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, about 3 hours is probably about right.
I lived in the UK, and it is. There have been very long and dreary winters, and so yes. But having said that, I equally had some fantastic summers there. So let's do not too much English bashing. It's only just the start of the interview. Come on. But Carla, you're not really from the UK, are you? You have got a beautiful, beautiful twang there of an accent.
Yes, so I am originally from South Africa. So yes, I totally agree that the winters can be hell for me.
So true.
Used to beautiful South African weather. But yeah, I've been in the UK for about 3.5 years now, and so far we're having a great summer, so I can't complain.
Well, exactly right. No, take it when it comes, and
Absolutely.
It's beautiful. And Carla, you are a guest here today because I know that your journey led you from a typical lifestyle of a South African girl to then going to the UK. Now, for all of you who have not lived here or there, i.e. South Africa or UK, these are both very wet countries when it comes to the good old alcohol. In South Africa, a little bit nicer because you've got all these lovely wines down there that are easily accessible to you. In the UK, just because everyone drinks, and it is just what it is. So tell us a bit more. First of all, how did you end up in the UK?
So my family are all from here originally, and they'd all lived in Zimbabwe for many years, and then sadly when things went a bit pear-shaped there, they all kind of moved back to the UK. So a few years ago I decided I needed a bit of a change, and this was the easiest sort of stop for me in my journey.
Beautiful.
So yeah.
And was your passion always what you're doing now? You were basically a very sportive woman.
Yeah, so it's always been my passion, but never been my career. So I studied marketing and ended up in advertising for nearly 15 years. And again, as well, that's a very big industry for a lot of partying and drinking. So probably wasn't helping my cause.
I was about to say, come on.
Yeah, I was heading down the path. So yeah.
So how did a typical day in your life look like in the marketing industry?
So I was in sales mainly for many years, and so that involved long hours, but also a lot of socializing. So there was, a lot of taking clients out to things, having clients at events, hosting events. So it was just constantly kind of almost like a full day job, because you'd be at work and then you'd go from work to social events, which when I was young, I absolutely loved it. It was great. But as I got older, it starts to take a bit of a toll on the body.
No shit, Sherlock. So were you always an outgoing girl, or was the alcohol actually helping you to be more relaxed and more easygoing with the clients?
Yeah, I think I always kind of see myself as a bit of an introvert, and I think I'm a bit shy. But then when I tell my friends that, they think that I'm talking absolute rubbish. So, but yeah, I think I've always been good with sales, but I like to build relationships. And then I think definitely with the alcohol, it helps you to take off that guard that you put up, and you kind of just become the life of the party. That was usually me. So yeah, I definitely was never the first one to leave.
You just, my words came out of your mouth, which is always spooky. So been there, done that. And it is, after all, it is actually, and if you don't work in such an environment, is sometimes hard to imagine, but it is everything. A successful deal, here's the alcohol, or it has been a long day, here's the alcohol. And it is this kind
Absolutely.
of, there's this bonding that is happening over the alcohol. It's part and parcel of it.
Absolutely.
When did you start in the industry?
Straight out of university. So I was, 22, 23. And been in it up until about a year ago, really. But yeah, you're right what you say in terms of, you do literally celebrate everything. A bad day, you go for a drink. A good day, you go for a drink. Exactly. Friday drinks, you look forward to at 4:00 every Friday. So it literally is all surrounded by when is the next drink or the next party.
Were there people in your group who did not drink?
Not very often. And I think if there were, they would either not really attend some of the events, but I think they would be kind of seen as slightly antisocial, because they weren't being part of the thing and getting super drunk and doing stupid things.
It is right. And that is South Africa just as much as the UK, isn't it? And
absolutely. Yeah. I think it's probably maybe a little bit worse here because there is definitely a pub culture here, I guess because of the weather. But even in South Africa, like you mentioned, we've got loads of wine farms. We're always having barbecues or braais, as we call them. It's a very sociable thing to be doing, and drinking is a huge part of that.
And of course you love it, and you're quite rightly say as a young person you want to conform, you want to be part of a group, and of course you learn how to drink because that's what is expected of you. And of course it has benefits. We already alluded to the hey, I feel so much more relaxed, and now let's dance and boogie and all the kind of good stuff. So I mean, alcohol serves as a purpose. There's no two ways around that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when I think back of my life, yes, I had some damn good times at a time when there were no cell phones around with cameras. So there's very little evidence. So true.
No Facebook.
Exactly. So, but I mean, things have changed nowadays, and I think things changed in your life. So you're happy to share a bit why suddenly today you're living a rather different life than you lived when you were in the marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I moved over to the UK, it was, for me, it was a big part of making friends, meeting new people. So I was still in advertising, so it was constantly drinks after work, and it wasn't just one, it would always turn into 4 or 5. And and I think the stress of the job I was in as well, I was working 13, 14-hour days, and the only way for me to really unwind was to drink, and so it kind of progressed from being a weekend thing to an every night thing. Even if I wasn't out, it would be wine at dinner. And there were some nights before I knew it, the bottle was finished. And then I think with that as well started to become unhealthy eating habits as well, because I was either out, so I would be getting takeaways, or I was home late, so I'd be eating, rubbish and quick meals. And so I wasn't, taking care of my body at all. So eventually with, the stress, the drinking, the bad eating, this kind of was probably an 18-month period, to be honest. So I think that was quite scary for me because, you always think that these sort of moments in your life will come over many years. But for me, it was sort of in a short space of time. But I ended up in hospital with a ruptured artery in my stomach, which was caused by an erosion of my stomach lining, which was caused by all the abuse I was doing to my body. So I had to have 2 blood transfusions. It was pretty frightening. And when I came out of hospital, I just realized that I had to make a change. It was a massive wake-up call for me. And I think especially coming from a person who I've always led a healthy lifestyle, I've always been fit and healthy. And I think in a sense that actually made me think I could get away with anything. So you abuse your body because you think you can.
Because you're young, stupid, and bulletproof. Okay, that's
absolutely
part of it. That's
absolutely cool. Yeah. And I stopped drinking, and I ended up starting to go on a vegetarian lifestyle as well, purely because actually meat just wasn't agreeing with me anymore. That's kind of how it started out. But as the days and months progressed...
I was about to say, come on, a South African braai girl where meat does no longer agree with you. That is a sacrilege. That is normally you would be thrown out of South Africa for that. Okay.
I know, it's scandal.
Okay. But then again, you guys, when you're listening to our banter here, the stomach is an integral part of the digestion of protein. So your steak, your meat, etc., is all mainly protein. So when it comes into the stomach has to do quite a bit of work. Now, if your stomach just had a rather big shock to the system, so to speak, I can see where that actually changed and where suddenly your stomach, maybe not the stomach hasn't really got a brain and things like that, the way I make it out, but that really the mixture of horrible emotions and fear and anxiety that were linked to the bleeding, that they actually completely destroyed the vinyl, the sound that comes from your LP. It is just completely different. You suddenly, the thought of some meat will have completely, your brain would have said, no way in hell. Interesting.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
How long were you in hospital, may I ask?
Just over a week.
Good. Well, so it was quite bad enough. So they basically had a look inside and tried to stop the bleeder with a gastroscopy. So a little camera down the thing. And was that successful?
Yeah. Well, the problem is that they can only see the lesion when it's bleeding. So by giving me the blood transfusions and all of that, they'd actually stopped the bleeding. So it took them quite a while to figure out what was actually going on. And so basically they said to me when they left hospital was that they said, well, there's nothing really we can do unless it bleeds again. So they said to me, like, you're going to have to make some big lifestyle changes so that this doesn't happen again, because there is a huge risk that it could happen. So I think that for me as well was sort of a, aha moment, as you call them. I was like, I'm not going through this again. This is not for me.
I rather would call it an oh moment, not an aha moment.
Yeah, true.
Okay. Oh shit.
Yeah, maybe an oh shit moment.
Exactly. That's the more realistic one. Goodness. So how long were you off work then?
So I was off work in total for almost a month, because I'd had sort of a little bit of issues before I actually got admitted, and then I got admitted, and then I had to be off for a couple of weeks after that, and then I had some annual leave, so I just sort of put that on top to get some full recovery. But I was very weak, very anemic for a while as well. It was situations where I would get on the train to try go to work, and if I couldn't get a seat, I literally would faint every trip to the office. So,
ouch. Okay.
Yeah, so it was a long recovery to really get that energy back, and it was tricky because I couldn't really exercise. So for me, it was a lot about what I was putting into my body at that point.
Or what not, because you had initially to live an alcoholic lifestyle. So therefore, the alcohol in its own right really does a hammering on the gut. So you are essentially malnutritioned. You were running around malnutrition just as much as there are people in the third world have malnutrition. You did the same out of the mixture of your diet, and because what the alcohol did to the absorption of all the goodies that are coming in. So
100%.
that mixture set you really back, and then to have that little stress ulcer there eating away on the lining, eating away until finally a blood vessel is actually nicked and is squirting blood out. That is really what happened there. So you were on the back foot, and now you bled out quite a bit, I assume. And no doubt you feel absolute rubbish. And that will be for weeks and months in actual fairness. Wow.
100%.
Wow. So when you went back to work, what did your colleagues say?
So, I think everybody was quite shocked by the whole thing. But I think as well that people kind of distance themselves, I think, from the reality of things like that. So, they feel really bad and they're shocked, and they do. I think a lot of them do think twice about the decisions they're making, but it doesn't seem to last very long.
Exactly. Yeah. And then so that was the moment when you actually stopped drinking, and the pressure was still on. So here you were, this time not just the full day work and all the pressure and the social pressure to keep drinking, but now you were dead walking because you were so exhausted and depleted, basically. So how did that go? What did you do?
Yeah, so I think for me that when I eventually got back, I think it really highlighted to me that this wasn't the path for me anymore in life. And it made me really realize that, like, I guess it's, when they say you have those life-changing moments, because I realized that this environment was not a healthy environment for me, and it wasn't going to ever be that, because the minute I got back, there was no easing me back in, or it was just full back into normal days, normal working. And, you're just a number in a big corporate, and, they're happy to have you back because they need another body to do the work.
Interesting.
So for me, it was definitely a moment where I had to take a hard look. And I stayed in advertising for a little while after that, but kind of toned it back, and, sort of came to work at a smaller company locally. But I still realized that this wasn't my path anymore, and that I had a story to tell, I guess, and had a bigger purpose in life. I think that's really what started to ring true for me.
But I mean, your experience is, from a doctor's point of view, so common. honestly. I mean, we see gastric bleeders left, right, and center. This is part of modern lifestyle kind of a thing. And what you've described, yeah, advertising, sure, but do marketing, do law, do finance, all these kind of service industries, much of a muchness. And it's just go, 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 bleh, go, 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 bleh. And it's just, it is.
Absolutely.
Please, it is unfortunately something that is going on for a lot of people out there. And a lot of people would call themselves not alcoholic. No, I'm not an alcoholic. This is my lifestyle. This is just, I choose that. Therefore, I don't need to do that. But yeah, the very first thing I come home is before I take the shoes off, I pour myself a glass of Chardonnay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
How about that?
Yeah. Because there's this stigma of being an alcoholic and that you have no control over it. But, they convince themselves that, I'm completely in control of it.
Absolutely. I control immediately how I open my bottle of wine and pour it in.
Exactly.
I stuff the glass. Yeah, exactly. Come on. I've been there. I've done it, for Christ's sake. And I love it when you say this sometimes the bottle ended. Make that 2 bottles, okay? Let's be serious. None of these rookie numbers, okay? 1
So, 1 bottle an hour.
Yeah, that's right. Now we're talking. And it's the slippery slope, isn't it? Before you blink.
Absolutely.
Oh dear.
Yeah, you don't realize it. And I think also for me, because wine was my drink of choice, it's so difficult to monitor how much you're actually drinking because you just keep topping up the glass. So you don't know if you've had 6 or 7 or 8 glasses because, you don't go and empty it and then fill it. You just keep topping it up.
So true.
It's the gift that keeps giving.
For a while, I was making my own wine in Auckland, and the warmest place for this wine barrel where it sort of was fermenting was at your bathroom. So there was this wine ready to go. We had 2 barrels, I think, from memory. And what would happen? We would watch telly, have a glass of wine, then go with the wine, have a pee, fill up whilst you're having a pee, and then go back in. By the time you've done that a few times, there's no memory whatsoever. Have you had 10 glasses or 5 glasses? No. And as a German, please, we've got big glasses. So
Yes.
None of that little. That's not a glass.
No.
So
yeah, we've only got one size. There's not a red wine glass and a white wine glass.
Oh, that's
just a large glass.
That's right. We call them Romans. Romans, they hold about 250 ml. So, third of a bottle, basically. Good stuff.
Basically, yeah.
Man, but that was what it was. I mean, that was my lifestyle. That was your lifestyle. And in your case, actually, whatever is out there, God, karma, energy, universe, someone has hit you over the head with a 2x4 and said, Carla, we need to talk. And he sent you a lot of blood. And I think with hindsight, many people who have had similar experiences actually say, wow, best thing that could have ever happened to me. And I guess sort of when I read your story, this was sort of a little bit what was transpiring there, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I think also I have a history with that, like anxiety and depression, and it was only after this as well that I realized how much of a crutch I was using it to not only just socialize and have fun, but as a mechanism to help me cope with anxiety. But it's obviously a slippery slope as well because, when you wake up with a hangover, it just enhances all that depression and anxiety. So, you get back on the wagon later that afternoon. So, I think it really highlighted.
Sorry, I call it hangxiety.
I love that.
Exactly. Even, you know, whatever anxiety you had, it's now times two because you're hungover, guilty, full of shame, and feel
Absolutely
rotten from the hangover. And then the anxiety on top. Not pretty. And
no.
like you, been there, done that. I've got my depression history. I've got PTSD and things like that. So these things, you numb the pain with the alcohol.
Absolutely.
That works for a while, but then your journey really started because now you said, wow, okay, I really can't be drinking anymore. So
Yeah.
tell us a bit about that story. What actually happened when you stopped drinking? What did you notice?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think one of the biggest things I noticed was how much alcohol is a part of our lives,
Oh.
and how much everything we do is centered around alcohol. So all the activities I was doing, all the lunches I was going for, they were all centered around where you can get a drink you like, or going for a wine tasting or whatever it was. And I realized how also what a stigma there is around non-drinkers, and how people just were so shocked to know that I wasn't drinking. And they would ask me things like, well, how are you coping? How are you managing not to drink? And it was just the strangest thing for me, because I was like, well, I just am not. I don't know how to, it's like, well, actually, I feel a million times better. And people would say, oh, that's, it's so brave. That's, so like as if I'd cured cancer or something. It was ridiculous. I couldn't believe how shocked people were about the fact that you could actually be in a pub and not drink.
and having said that, it is sometimes hard because especially in the UK where people come into the pub and think, oh, damn, I better have quickly a whole pint and then one and then a schnapps and, oh, now I feel better. And meanwhile, they think they're the center of the party when in reality, they sound something like, you said what? And it's brutal. Because the moment you stop drinking, you actually listen to them and you think, yeah, you sound like a 3-year-old that is somehow on some really funny drugs. And it's brutal.
Yeah. I especially found as a woman, I'm actually humiliated now when I see drunk women, because the way they behave is just, it's so degrading. And I look at them and I think, I can't judge because I used to be like that.
Mm.
But it's horrifying to me to think that women are walking down the street like that, behaving like that, falling over in the street, with their skirts above their heads. And for me, it's just, I think that was a big eye opener for me. I was like, is this the kind of woman that you want to be portraying to people? And it's horrifying for me now. I almost want to like take them aside and say, let me help you.
Remember though, there is, for them, that is their life. That is where what they focus on, what is normal for them. For them, you're the weirdo. You're the strange woman. And that's really bizarre, isn't it? The social engineering that has made it so weird and normal to be drunk.
Yes.
It is. I've got a chapter in my book that is called The Heroin-Free Wedding. And it goes along the lines that mum and daughter are sort of being together in the kitchen, and the daughter said to mum, look, can we talk about my wedding? And mum said, yeah, let's talk wedding. And she said, oh, yeah. Look, mum, I've thought about it. I really would like to have a heroin-free wedding. And the mum is going nuts and bananas. What do you mean, heroin-free? Have you started using? Oh, my God, don't you know every year 18,000 beautiful souls are lost when it comes to heroin? How dare you? Do you need help? And she said, no, Mum. I just wanted to clarify that with you. And I'm not using. I'm all good. Oh, I'm so pleased for you. And then the daughter continues after a while, after a big hug with Mum. She says, now that we're on the topic, is it okay that we have an alcohol-free wedding? And Mum looks at her. You can't do that. You can't have an alcohol-free wedding. You say, no way. What are you talking? You're stupid. But Mummy, there are 68,000 beautiful souls lost every year to alcohol. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay. And that is sort of one of the chapters where I highlight the social engineering that has occurred in our life. And where did that happen?
It reminded me of a book I'd read as well, and she referred to it as if you went for a Chinese takeaway and the next day it made you really ill, it gave you a terrible headache, it made you vomit, it made you stay in bed all day, and then you said to your friend, right, next Friday, should we go back to that Chinese takeaway? Your friend would be like, are you mad? But yet, that's good. Exactly what we do with alcohol.
Oh, very good. Very good. Nice one. So, yeah, damn it. So, but here you are. Whilst you have seen the light, had a wake-up call, however you want to call it, the people around you have not. So, let me guess, Carla, for a little while, became actually rather maybe lonesome, maybe not so commonly invited.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, to be brutally honest, it ruined my relationship because, which was ironic, because when we split after a while, it's one of the things that actually came up. He said, oh, I think, the whole giving up alcohol and all of that is a bit extreme. So I said, but you hated the person I was when I was drinking, because I was terrible at phoning you back. I never told you what time I was coming home. And he was like, yeah, but, like going completely off alcohol, that's I think it's a bit extreme and it's a bit much. And I just thought to myself, this is utterly ridiculous. And so, yeah, it's hard because unfortunately you do lose people along the way. There's a couple of friends, or, I suppose you maybe don't call them friends then, but there's people I, no longer hang out with because they just don't want to do anything other than drinking, outings. So there is a tough side to it. And there are definitely moments where you think, oh, well, maybe if I just had a few, it would be okay, but then I just think it's not worth going back down that road. And like we say, it's a slippery slope, one turns into two, turns into every night.
So true. And I guess there's a sheer fact that we alcoholics, we like to surround ourselves with other alcoholics, because then it is not so obvious that really deep down we're actually doing maybe not the right thing for us. But if everyone else is drinking, see, there's nothing wrong. And look over there, Jenny, look, she's far worse than me, so I'm okay. And now Jenny is doing exactly the same with Carla. See Carla there. And Jenny says, oh no, I'm okay. So that's how the whole bloody thing works. And then suddenly if you actually become sober or simply don't drink anymore, in the sense of not even labeling yourself, you just say, no, I just have a green tea or something like that. You what? Suddenly their excuse goes. Suddenly they have the mirror in front of their face, and that's
100%.
And that's what a lot of people hate. So they very quickly,
it shines a light on their own issue,
isn't it? No, boy. Did you have cravings? were there times when you thought, oh God, I see this condensation on that glass in my mind?
I think for me, I never really had any cravings, but I think it was the social side of it for me that was tricky. So I went to, especially because I'd gone back home to South Africa for a 60th birthday. So that was really shining a light on, was I able to do this or not? Especially with the, wonderful South African wine we have. And I think it was only in that moment where I thought, it'd be so fun just to have, a shooter with somebody, or, just one glass of wine with dinner.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, because I think I also have a bit of I'm an only child, so I think I have a bit of competition with myself. So I was kind of like having this conversation in my head of, well, if you have that one now, then you've let yourself down, and then you've got to start all over again from day one. And I was just like, nope, that's not happening. So I think it was more just in social situations like that where, you're comfortable with people, you're with friends, and it just feels kind of normal. Those were the hard moments, I think, for me.
Oh, please. I so understand you. But you're a stronger woman than I am. Well, person, shall I say. Last time I looked, there was a boy. That's a different story.
Topic for another day.
That's right. I thought these pictures would never see the light of day, but here we are. I'm sorry. Oh. Anyhow, I think, no, for me, I must say I had a little bit more cravings. I had these waves of desire, which were nearly inhuman in their intensity. Wow. So, yeah, no, that's cravings. And I certainly, in my first year of sobriety, they were pretty good going. And it's that kind of stuff that really can trip you up, because the figures are there. 60, 80% of people who have been drinking heavy, i.e. alcoholics, end up relapsing or lapsing in the first year. And that just shows that the power that alcohol has over people. And it's just, it's powerful. It is nuts. It's crazy. And it's just us being us, weak human beings. In actual fact, we are not weak human beings. I'm actually a superhuman when it comes to the response to drinking. So when I drink alcohol, my dopamine levels in my brain go through the roof compared with someone else. And therefore I get that super high. I feel good. Well, someone else can have a glass of wine, puts it down, and still there's wine in the glass. And me, I would look at him and say, are you nuts? Do you leave that sip of wine there on the table? That's sacrilege.
Absolutely.
It's different, very different brains, very different reactions, very different emotions. Wow.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I was definitely a big high on alcohol. I was never one of those very emotional drunks. I was always very happy, very ready for a party, till the next morning, of course.
Of course. Did you wake up when you were drunk? Did you, for me, 3-4 glasses of wine and bing, my fatigue was gone, the tension in my shoulders was gone. Okay, let's clean up the garage. Let's do, I don't know what. I could do another working day. So same here, yeah.
Yeah, wow. Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. This alcohol can give us benefits, for the lack of a better word, kind of a thing. It has something for us. It gives us something. So we can't just all demonize it, and you can't just say, well, it did all those things for me. It made me more funny. My anxiety was lower, at least once I was drinking. And now you say, now stop drinking, because drinking is evil. And just stop there. Yeah, that
Yeah.
doesn't work. So
No.
no. So that's then the story that really is interesting. You were admitting that your mental health was up and down at times. Um, how did it go when you stopped drinking? How did you start exploring that side of you? How did that go?
So I think it was tough in the beginning, because now I had to deal with stuff that was coming up. Uh, you know,
So true.
I couldn't just sort of suppress it with a glass of wine anymore. So yeah, I did end up getting therapy for some of the stuff that I was going through, and it's yeah, I think it's still a constant work in progress, I think, because there's years of stuff that I've suppressed through drinking and never maybe dealt with through drinking. And so when things in life trigger me, it is harder to do, because now I actually am in those emotions and in that feeling, and I have to deal with it because I don't have that as a crutch anymore. So it's a double-edged sword. I think it's it's a really positive thing, but it's a tough thing to go through. And I can totally understand why people relapse, because it's easy to just that crutch and suppress feelings.
So true. But you know what? I want to repeat this interview in 2 years' time, because you will sound very, very different then. You have done an amazing job. You're what, 18 months now? 2 years? What was it that you,
Yes.
yeah. Now, this is still very early times in recovery. And whilst it might sound like wow, such a beautiful long time, it is still, your brain is still coming to terms with what is happening. And you're still learning the lessons, and you're still learning the skills and the new expertise to deal with these emotions and things like that. So for me, the first 2 years were weird. I was empty. I had to learn how to deal with emotions. I had to learn how to live, which I had completely forgotten how to do. So the first 2 years were just brutal, really, as you say. Thereafter, one day you learn one technique that seems to work for you, and then 3 months later you have another breakthrough somewhere because you deal with a trauma, and you think, that's why I'm angry, because that happened. And then the next 3 months something else happens, and suddenly 4 years down the line you look back and think, huh, because as you say, it doesn't stop. You have tasted freedom. You have tasted joy. You have tasted that energy where you say, whoa, okay, I like that. I like that. Like, give me more. What do I need to do to do more? And that is the cool thing. Typically, when you stop drinking, a lot of things change. In actual fact, there is the saying, the only thing that changes in recovery is everything. And that certainly was so true for me. I've numbed my emotions for such a long time, and suddenly coming out of the alcohol haze, I had to suddenly live my life in a real way, as in to deal with these emotions, to deal with my mood swings, with my anxiety.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
Yeah, I can totally relate. It's I think it's really difficult because you don't have that crutch to dumb down those emotions anymore. So when they come up, they feel so much more intense now, and I can totally understand why people relapse, because it is so much easier to just reach for something that can help with that, because it's painful. Nobody wants to feel depressed or anxious or any of that. And so I've found that it's been quite a lot harder to deal with those emotions, because now I don't have any outlet. I have to deal with them. I have to be in them.
Mm.
So,
Did you in the past have help? Did you in the past see a psychologist? Or was that a journey that only slowly but surely was opening its door now?
I had seen people in the past, but I think it was those situations where it worked while I was doing it.
Mm.
But then because of my lifestyle, I would just go back into that same routine. And then a year or two down the line, I'd be back at the psychologist because I was still going through the same stuff. Because I wasn't actually coming out of those sessions and properly processing it in real life, if you want to call it that.
Exactly. No, so same with me. There was not a single self-help book or a Tony Robbins DVD that I had not listened to. I was constantly doing all the self-help stuff. Well, I was reading the self-help stuff. I didn't put anything into action. I had a glass of wine probably in my hand whilst I was reading the self-help.
That sounds about right.
So funny that is that your problems don't get better when you just read about possible solutions. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. No, that's cool. So you had 18 months now, and that is an absolute beautiful achievement. And it things are changing, and you're tackling your life in such a different way. You're actually addressing your emotions. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that journey? Is it worth it?
I think it's definitely worth it, 100%. Is it easy? No. There's days when it is bloody difficult and ugly. But if I look at all the positives that have come out just in terms of my health, my way of life, the path that my work life is taking, it's so worth it. I wouldn't change it for anything.
But that is, of course, doesn't mean to say that only because you're no longer drinking, it doesn't mean to say that not shit will happen to you. I mean, we were earlier on, we were bantering here before the interview, and I told you a bit about my day, and in a nutshell, a lot of things went wrong, little things left, right, and center, and it was just one of these days where you think you got to be joking. What else can go wrong in my life? And I, despite of now about 7 years of sober and having learned skills and being very mindful, etc., doing breathing exercises, again, there were waves of anxiety washing over me. My goodness. And I felt myself hyperventilating, breathing too fast. I felt my stomach cramping. And it's just, you're dealt with one brush fire when the next volcano erupts. And you think, come on, enough is enough. But these days are there. So they only because you do no longer drink and want to do the right thing, that doesn't mean to say that life is waiting for you and says, oh, now it's so much nicer and it will be all rosy and little unicorns and rainbows.
I was just going to say, it's not unicorns and rainbows.
None at all. On the contrary.
No.
Man.
I think the difference now is that when the shit happens, as hard as it is, I'm able to process it differently now, and I'm able to create a different response to it that I would have before. Whereas I think before I just suppressed it and didn't really actually deal with the crux of what was going on. Whereas now I think without the drinking, I am so much more in the decision making.
Couldn't agree more. It is to actually have the insight what is going on right here, right now, rather than actually shooting from the hip and responding on a subconscious level to triggers that somehow trigger you, because that's what triggers do.
Yeah.
And this could be a word, the way someone looks at you, it's these kind of little things sometimes that it's hard to put actually into words, but something
Yeah.
triggers you and suddenly, certainly the hothead in me would have exploded very easily, let's say 10 years ago. Nowadays, I
Yeah.
look at the same situation and I actually have got the emotional maturity to actually say, well, hang on. Okay, why are you angry? Is it really that this person has stuffed up? And guess what? Today, that was actually true. There were a lot of people around me who stuffed up. Or was it actually that, hang on, why are you really angry? Why is there a rage in you to something where this guy just took that fraction of a second longer to actually drive into the roundabout? Where's this rage coming from? And that's the difference. So
Absolutely.
and that's beautiful. I love that insight. It doesn't mean to say that I don't have to rage. It's still the guy pisses me off because he doesn't drive. But I understand there is something else going on, and
yeah. And you're able to identify it now. And I think, that's been the big thing for me, definitely.
So you were always sportive, but now you changed your life towards far more a healthy lifestyle. So what is the balance now looking like for the new Carla? What's your new life like?
Yeah, so it's been on quite a journey. I guess we're always on a journey, but so now I've actually gone into. I've always wanted to coach people on healthy living, but I guess when you're not living it yourself, you can't really teach people. So now I finally got the opportunity to be a mindset and body coach, and I'm just helping people to get healthy, find healthy habits that they can fit into busy lives, because the reality is we do still live in a busy life and we do still have all those pressures, and being healthy is tricky. It is, and it takes work, and that's kind of my passion now, is to just really be able to share with people that the importance of being healthy, firstly, because as we get older, things start to break, and we have to we have to take care of ourselves, and we're not, like you said earlier, we're not bulletproof anymore as we get older, and so I think this definitely wouldn't have happened for me if I'd continued drinking after. Because I could have easily just, gone back into drinking once I'd recovered.
I think, as I said, karma or God or whoever gave you a big wake-up call, and it was one of the most beautiful things that could have happened to you. This is your new life, and you live it to the most beautiful extreme. So which what more could you possibly wish for? I mean, happiness and joy, and new relationships, a new you, a you that wakes up in the morning and is actually keen to get out of bed and wants to do something and has a really great time, instead of trying to, oh God, my head, I want to fall back asleep. God,
I actually have weekends now.
Yeah, exactly. You mean you can remember what you did on these weekends?
Yes, yeah. And I get up before midday.
Absolutely. And that's quite beautiful. So, but then again, I love it that you have taken that journey and that you are now coaching others, because you have got the badge of honor, i.e. you have got the hospital admission. You have got that little wristband that you get in the hospital with your numbers on, etc. You can say, yeah, look, Been there, done that. No,
Done that.
you can't bullshit me. No, you talk shit now. So no.
Exactly.
I've been there. And that's a really powerful position. So you're not just doing something because you've read it in a book. You have experienced something fundamental that shocked you to the deepest core of your being, and that's what makes your teaching and your guidance and you being a coach so much more powerful. Okay, you people look in your eyes and wow, okay, she knows what she's talking about, because exactly that, and that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful, man.
And I think for me as well, it's what a lot of people have said to me is, because you look at people who've always had drinking problems or alcohol problems or have been overweight or drugs, and when they end up at rock bottom, you think, well, that was to be expected. But when people, my friends, have looked at me, I've always been healthy, I've always been fit, I've always exercised, and for me to have hit rock bottom, I think was a big shock to a lot of people, including myself. And I think it shows that you don't, you have to still take care of your body, and none of us are immune to these things, no matter how healthy we think we are. We all can succumb to these moments where we let things slide, and we forget what we actually are about, and take care of our bodies and our minds. And
so true. I mean, and you guys out there, I mean, the sheer fact that you're listening to that podcast or watching that video, okay, that says a lot. So welcome to the club, welcome to the enlightened club, shall I say, because you're the 5% of people who drink too much or have drunken too much who actually are doing something about it, whilst the other 95% say, no, I've got no problem whatsoever. No, pass me the wine. I have no problem there. So,
absolutely.
No. So, Carla, if people want to get hold of you, if they want to work with you, how do they get best about it?
So, I am on Instagram. It's at Carla Caswell. Yeah. I've got a Facebook group that is coming soon. So, excellent. if you watch my Instagram, it will be on there. But that's the best place to get in touch with me. Or email is also great. So it's caswell.carla@gmail.com.
Brilliant. And guys, we've got the details on it, so it will be little for Carla. This was a fantastic interview. I'm so grateful for
it's been amazing.
For your time. Thank you so much. And I'm so looking forward to seeing how your journey continues, because there's no doubt lots and lots waiting for us.
Absolutely. Cool. And thank you so much for having me. It's been such a great chat, and it's always good to share these with like-minded people.
Oh, hell yes. And you guys out there, look after yourself. Life is too short. Come on, live your life to the fullest. Bye.
Bye.